Tonight, federal agents have raided a Minneapolis neighborhood. Over 2 million fentanyl doses seized, enough to kill every person in the city 3 times over.
4:42 a.m. Minneapolis, Minnesota, winter darkness. The temperature had dropped to 14 degrees. Frost covered every window on the block. The streets were empty, silent, frozen. But 47 federal agents were already in position. FBI, DEA, Homeland Security investigations, U.S. Marshals, all converging on a single neighborhood in South Minneapolis where Somali families had lived for over 2 decades. What they were about to uncover would shock the entire nation. Over 2 million doses of fentanyl, enough to kill every person in Minneapolis 3 times over, enough to devastate an entire state. And it was hiding in plain sight. If you want the full truth, hit like so this story reaches more people. Let me show you what really happened. The operation had a code name, Operation Silent Blade. For 11 months, investigators had been watching, listening, recording, building a case so massive that it required coordination across 14 federal agencies. The target wasn't a cartel compound in Mexico. It wasn't a drug lab in the desert. It was a 2-story family home valued at $820,000 in a quiet residential neighborhood. The home belonged to Abdul Rahman Nur Ali, 44 years old. Community organizer, business owner, respected elder, a man who donated to local schools, a man who spoke at mosque fundraisers, a man who neighbors trusted without question. But federal investigators had tracked $6.3 million in cash flowing through his accounts in just 22 months. No legitimate business, no legal income source, no explanation. The money came from nowhere, and it went everywhere. The turning point came 14 weeks earlier, January 18, 2025, 9:18 p.m., Lake Street, Upper Minneapolis. A routine traffic stop, nothing dramatic. A broken tail light on a silver Honda Accord. The driver was Mohammed Farhan Isi, 32 years old. Quiet, polite, hands on the wheel. Officer Derek Holman approached the vehicle, asked for license and registration, standard procedure. But something felt wrong. The driver's hands were shaking. His eyes kept glancing at the rearview mirror. His answers were too rehearsed. Officer Holman asked to search the trunk. What he found changed everything. 2 sealed black bundles wrapped in duct tape, a digital scale still showing residue, $47,600 in cash bound with rubber bands. Field testing confirmed it. Fentanyl, pure, lethal, enough powder to produce over 180,000 doses. If this shocks you, comment exposed below. The report went straight to federal agencies. Within 36 hours, a task force was formed. This wasn't just a drug bust. It was the beginning of something far bigger. Investigators pulled Mohammed's phone records. What they found was stunning. Over 400 calls in the past 6 weeks, all to the same cluster of numbers, all registered to relatives living within a 3-mile radius. Text messages were coded. Package ready. Drop at usual spot. Uncle says Thursday. Financial records showed wire transfers moving between accounts belonging to cousins, uncles, nephews. Amounts just under $10,000, always under reporting thresholds. This wasn't random. This was designed. Surveillance began immediately. Unmarked vehicles parked 2 blocks away. Cameras mounted on utility poles. Tracking devices placed on vehicles during late-night operations. For 8 weeks, agents watched. They saw Abdul Rahman meeting with visitors at odd hours, 2 a.m., 4 a.m., always brief, always in parking lots behind closed businesses. They saw Yusuf Noura, 38, Abdul's younger brother, making deliveries in a white cargo van, stopping at apartment complexes, staying less than 5 minutes. They saw Hoden Warsam, 34, a cousin, entering and leaving the house carrying black briefcases. No job, no business, but driving a $90,000 Mercedes. The pattern became clear. This was a family operation. But how deep did it go? Agents traced the financial web further. They found shell company, import businesses that imported nothing, consulting firms with no clients. One company, Barakal Logistics LLC, was registered to Abdul's uncle in St. Cloud. It claimed to import textiles from East Africa, but customs records showed no shipments, no invoices, no inventory. Yet the company had moved $1.8 million in the past year. Another business, Noor Community Relief Fund, was supposed to provide aid to Somali refugees. It had 501c3 nonprofit status. It collected donations from local mosques, but the fund had been inactive since 2019. The bank account was still active, still receiving deposits, still making transfers. Type yes if you're ready to see what happened next. Investigators dug deeper into international transactions. They found payments routed through Dubai, Nairobi, Istanbul, and Toronto. Amounts like $8,950, $9,200, $9,700, always under $10,000. Always designed to avoid automatic detection. This wasn't amateur hour. This was professional money laundering. And then came the most disturbing discovery. A warehouse in Burnsville, Minnesota, leased under a fake name. Paid for in cash, security cameras disabled, agents obtained a search warrant. On March 2, 2025, they entered the building. What they found inside made their blood run cold. 500 kilograms of raw fentanyl powder. Uncut, pure, deadly, industrial mixing equipment, pill presses, dye tablets, packaging materials. This wasn't just distribution, this was manufacturing. The warehouse was a production facility, a factory churning out counterfeit pills designed to look exactly like prescription medication. OxyContin, Percocet, Adderall, all fake, all laced with fentanyl, all lethal. Lab analysis revealed something even more terrifying. The pills contained 3 to 5 times the lethal dose. One pill could kill 3 people. If you believe this needs to be exposed, hit like now. Agents also found something else in that warehouse. A notebook, handwritten, pages filled with names, dates, amounts. It was a distribution log, over 200 names, addresses in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Duluth, Rochester, Fargo, even addresses in Chicago, Milwaukee, and Des Moines. This network wasn't just local, it stretched across 5 states. And the names weren't just buyers. Some were dealers, some were transporters, some were enforcers. One entry stood out. Chicago Connect, 50K weekly, M delivers. Another read, Milwaukee route, safe, use green van. The operation was sophisticated, organized, ruthless, and Abdul Rahman Nur Ali was at the center of it all. March 15, 2025, the final briefing. Federal agents gathered in a secure room at the Minneapolis FBI field office. Maps covered the walls, photos of suspects pinned in clusters. The decision was made: execute the raids. Targets were identified: 12 locations, 6 homes, 2 businesses, 3 storage units, 1 warehouse. Over 100 agents would be deployed. Timing had to be perfect. Simultaneous entry, no advance warning. The date was set: March 19, 2025, 4:42 a.m. The morning was brutal. 14 degrees. Wind chill made it feel like zero. Unmarked SUVs rolled through the darkness. No lights, no sirens, just the hum of engines and the crunch of tires on frozen pavement. At 4:42 a.m., the signal was given. Agents moved. At Abdul Rahman's house, a battering ram struck the reinforced front door. The frame splintered. The door flew inward. FBI, search warrant. Hands where we can see them. Inside, chaos erupted. Abdul was in the living room. His brother Yusuf tried to run toward the back door. Agents tackled him to the ground. Handcuffs clicked. Upstairs, Hoden was destroying a laptop. An agent burst through the bedroom door and grabbed it from her hands. "Don't move!" Comment raid if you're still following this story. Simultaneously, at 5 other locations across the city, raids were underway. In Richfield, agents breached a storage unit. Inside, they found $2.1 million in cash stacked in duffel bags. In Bloomington, a cargo van was stopped on I-35W. The driver tried to flee on foot. K-9 units chased him down. In the back of the van, 300,000 counterfeit pills. In St. Cloud, agents executed a warrant at a small import shop. The owner, Abdul's uncle, was arrested on the spot. Behind a false wall in the storage room, agents found 150 kilograms of fentanyl powder. This wasn't a local network. This was a regional empire. Back at Abdul Rahman's house, agents began the search. The living room looked normal. Family photos, prayer rugs, children's toys. But in the hallway closet behind a rack of coats, agents found a hidden door. It led to a basement room. What they found inside was staggering. A 12-foot table covered in ledgers, notebooks, and spreadsheets. Financial records spanning over 7 years. Stacks of cash in vacuum-sealed bags. $840,000 in total. A high-speed cash counter still plugged in. The display showed the last count, $182,400. 5 black bundles of fentanyl powder, each weighing 18 kilograms. Lab analysis later confirmed the powder could produce over 900,000 lethal doses. But it was the ledgers that told the real story. Hoden Warsom had kept meticulous records. Every transaction, every payment, every name. The oldest ledger dated back to 2018. At first, the entries were small, $1,000, $2,500. Local transactions, but by 2021, the numbers exploded. $50,000, $120,000, $300,000. One entry from October 2024 read $118,400, Minneapolis, Columbus, CW. Another from December 2024, $94,700, Toronto route cleared. If you want to see how deep this network goes, share this video now. The ledgers revealed the full scope of the operation: money laundering, interstate trafficking, international distribution, and it all flowed through Abdul Rahman. Agents also found a laptop in the basement. It was password protected, but forensic teams cracked it within hours. Inside were folders labeled Business Import and Community Relief. But the files told a different story. Spreadsheets tracking shipments that didn't exist, invoices for products that were never delivered, distribution schedules coded with initials and locations. One file contained a list of corrupt officials, names, positions, payment amounts, a city inspector, $12,000 to ignore warehouse violations, a customs officer at the Canadian border, $25,000 to waive through shipments, a local judge, $40,000 to reduce sentences for network members. This wasn't just drug traffic, this was systemic corruption. Over the next 48 hours, arrests continued. 22 individuals taken into custody, ages ranging from 24 to 61, all connected to the Noor family network, all facing federal charges: conspiracy to distribute fentanyl, money laundering, racketeering, bribery. Some tried to flee. One suspect was arrested at Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, boarding a flight to Dubai. Another was found hiding in a relative's attic in Rochester. They thought they could run. They were wrong. The evidence seized was overwhelming. Over 500 kilograms of fentanyl, enough to produce more than 2 million lethal doses. $8.4 million in cash, found in homes, storage units, vehicles, and buried in a backyard. 14 firearms, including 2 modified assault rifles with filed-off serial numbers. 600,000 counterfeit pills, already packaged and ready for distribution. Financial records spanning 7 years, documenting over $30 million in total transactions. Comment justice if you believe these criminals deserve maximum sentences. But the human toll was even more devastating. Hennepin County Medical Examiner records showed 173 fentanyl-related deaths in the past 18 months. Many of the victims were teenagers, kids who thought they were taking something harmless. One victim was 16-year-old Megan Torres from Richfield. She took a pill at a party, believing it was Percocet. She collapsed within minutes, died before the ambulance arrived. The pill came from Abdul Rahman's network. Another victim was 62-year-old James Holloway, a bus driver from Bloomington. He had chronic back pain. A co-worker sold him what looked like OxyContin. It was fake. He died in his living room. His daughter later told investigators he trusted someone he worked with. That trust killed him. The Somali community was devastated. For decades, Somali refugees had built lives in Minneapolis. They fled war, violence, and instability. They came to America seeking safety. Now, members of their own community had betrayed them. Elders held emergency meetings at local mosques. They condemned the criminals. They distanced themselves from the network. "These men do not represent us," said Imam Abdi Hassan. "They have dishonored our faith, our families, and our community." Parents began accompanying their children everywhere. Community centers increased security. Trust was shattered, and the damage would last for years. But the investigation wasn't over. Federal agents traced connections beyond Minneapolis. The network extended to Chicago, Milwaukee, Des Moines, Fargo, and Toronto. Investigators found evidence of coordination with Mexican cartels, specifically the Sinaloa Cartel and Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG. The fentanyl wasn't manufactured in Minneapolis. It was smuggled across the southern border, transported through Texas and Arizona, then funneled north. Abdul Rahman's network was the distribution hub for the upper Midwest. If this shocks you, type "exposed" below and share this story. Agents also discovered a cross-border smuggling route. Shipments were moving from Toronto into Minnesota through remote border crossings, small towns like Warroad and Baudette. Canadian authorities were alerted. Joint investigations began. Within weeks, 3 more suspects were arrested in Ontario. The network was collapsing. April 10, 2025. Federal Courthouse, Minneapolis. Abdul Rahman Noor Ali appeared before a judge. Shackled, silent. He was charged with conspiracy to distribute fentanyl resulting in death, money laundering, racketeering, and bribery. If convicted on all counts, he faced life in prison without parole. His brother Yusuf faced 40 years. Hodan Warsame faced 35 years. The judge denied bail for all 3. Flight risk, danger to the community. They would remain in custody until trial. The FBI held a press conference. Special Agent in Charge Michael Thornton addressed the media. This operation dismantled one of the most dangerous drug networks in the upper Midwest. Over 2 million lethal doses of fentanyl have been removed from our streets. Lives have been saved. He paused. But this is not over. We know other networks exist. We will find them. We will dismantle them. And we will hold them accountable. The case sent shockwaves across the country. How could a criminal empire operate for years in a residential neighborhood without detection? How could $30 million move through financial systems without triggering alarms? How could corrupt officials turn a blind eye? The answers were uncomfortable. Oversight failed. Agencies were understaffed. Resources were stretched thin. And criminals exploited every gap. Comment accountability if you believe oversight must improve. Community leaders called for reform. Senator Amy Klobuchar demanded increased funding for the DEA and FBI. Governor Tim Walz announced a state task force to investigate corruption in local agencies. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey pledged to increase police presence in high-risk neighborhoods. But promises alone wouldn't fix the damage. The trial is set for October 2025. Prosecutors are preparing the largest drug trafficking case in Minnesota history. Hundreds of witnesses, thousands of pages of evidence, months of testimony. The outcome will determine whether justice is served. But beyond the courtroom, the real question remains. How many other networks are still operating? Federal agents believe Abdul Rahman's operation was just one of many. Intelligence suggests at least 6 other major networks are active in the Midwest. Some are larger, some are more sophisticated, and they're still moving fentanyl into communities every single day. This case revealed something terrifying. Drug networks no longer look like gangs or cartels. They look like families. They look like neighbors. They look like community leaders. They hide behind respectability, behind charity, behind faith, and they profit from death. The battle is far from over. Every day, 200 Americans die from fentanyl overdoses. That's 1 every 7 minutes. Most victims never intended to take fentanyl. They took a pill they thought was safe. They were wrong. If you believe communities deserve protection, hit like now. If you believe justice matters, comment justice below. If you want me to continue exposing these networks, subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Share this story. Let people know the truth, because the fight isn't over in Minneapolis. It isn't over in America, and it won't be over until every network is exposed, every criminal is arrested, and every community is safe. This is only the beginning.